Index universal life. How is it exactly invested in the stock market? We know it's not as volatile as other investments like a variable universal life. So how is this one any safer? Well, we're going to find out today. Alright, so Index Universal Life is invested in the stock market. Now, it's not just invested in individual stocks. Instead, they use indexes. That's why it's called Indexed Universal Life, which is a lot safer. The most popular index that the Index Universal Life is most oftentimes invested in is the S&P 500. Most of us are pretty familiar with that. Now, a key thing to remember about Index Universal Life, different from variable universal life, it does not offer dividends, which is that little bit of extra money you get paid quarterly. It doesn't offer dividends. Instead, it offers what we call downside protection, which basically means when the stock market dips, you do not get a hit based off those losses. How exactly does that work? That's what we're going to find out right now. The insurance companies that offer you this downside protection Index Universal Life plan, they invest it in into an index kind of like the S&P 500, and what they'll do is they'll take their bond portfolio. They'll take a portion of their bond portfolio that they have in different investments in their index. And if, say, their bond portfolio is earning about 3% or so, well, then they'll take about 3% and they'll invest that into what's called usually call options. The reason they'll take exactly what they're earning from their bond portfolio is bonds are really safe investment and they know that they're going to earn back that 3%. So they know that at the end of the day, their 97% portfolio will get earned back up to 100% and they'll be whole again, which so they don't actually have to hit you on the downside. So how do they invest into these indexes without taking part of the downside and taking part of the upside? Well, they purchase what's called options. Now, this is the best way to describe exactly what an option is. Say I'm renting a house and I make a deal with the landlord and I say that I'm going to pay $2,000 per month for 12 months. That's my lease, right? But instead of just renting the house, I want to give him a lease with the option to buy. So I'm going to give him, in addition to my $2,000 a month, up front, I'm going to pay him an extra $2,000, and that's going to purchase my option to buy the house if I want to at the end of my lease. It's not a guarantee, he's just giving me the option. So if the house is worth $100,000 at the beginning of my lease, and the house actually appreciates in value near the end of my lease, and I decide, wow, you know what? This might actually be a pretty good investment. I think I'm going to buy this. So I end up buying the house for $100,000 and it ends up being worth $120,000, okay? So that's me having the option to buy. I determine that it's well worth the purchase, and then I buy. Let's say the house, instead of appreciating, actually depreciated. It went down in value, it went down to $80,000. Well, I could say, you know what, Mr. Landlord, that's okay. I don't really want to buy this house. I think I'm gonna go ahead and rent somewhere else. Then my $2,000 that I purchased at the beginning of the year, that money's still gone. That was spent on the option to buy. But I saved myself from taking that $20,000 hit on the house. Well, the stock market works very, very similar to that. When the insurance company purchases options, they're purchasing options to buy the stock after it goes up. So when they invest in that, they buy the options. If the stock goes up, they participate in the increase. If the stock goes down, they decide not to purchase the stock. Basically, that's how it works. So with the option, it gives us the ability to participate in the increase of the market and also stay out of it during the decrease of the market. The only caveat to the increase of the market, with options, there's a participation cap. So if the market goes up, let's just say 10 points, you can only go up maybe 5 points or whatever the cap is. So you can't fully participate in the increases, but you get downside protection so you don't fall too hard in the decreases. The only time you would actually lose money in a given year on an Index Universal Life is if it was a 0 year, meaning that the stock market went down, to where you're not actually going to take a hit on that. You're not going to get hit when the stock market goes down. The only problem with it is if it's at 0, you didn't gain anything, you still pay your fees. So there's different types of fees that are involved with an Index Universal Life plan, like administration fees or policy fees and a ton of other stuff. So you may pay between 300 to 500 basis points in fees, which is like 3 to 5%. So You still might take a small hit on fees, but you're not going to take a massive hit on the depreciation of the index. So I hope that cleared some things up for you. I hope you learned a little bit about how Indexed Universal Life works, how exactly it offers the downside protection, and kind of how it is invested in the stock market. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment them down below, and go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and until next time, my name is Thomas Harkey, and thank you for watching.